This is the Delaware County Commissioners meeting. It's Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. The time is 9 a.m. It's only 6 degrees out, so thanks everybody for coming. But let's open the meeting with the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, Okay, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Commissioner Reagan.
Present.
Commissioner Brand. Present. Commissioner Henry.
Here. On appointments, we still have the BZA board.
Yeah, we had a couple of interested parties. One withdrew their name due to the extensive travel that they would have to do, and they didn't want to make a commitment that they couldn't hold up. They did live in an unincorporated territory of the county, and then we had one more. Her name is Christy Knapp. I don't know if Christy is here today or not. Hi, Christy. Would you like to address the board? So Christy does live in an unincorporated territory of the county, and I hope we're going to hear that she's willing to serve on the BZA board today.
Hi, I am Christy Knapp, a longtime resident of Delaware County. I do fit, I think, all of your criteria. I'm so pleased that you would be willing to name me to the board, and I promise to do a good job for you.
What background?
I was a teacher at Royerton in Albany for 20 years, and then I went into administration. I retired as an associate superintendent.
Knapp, the Zoning Appeals Board.
Second.
We have a motion to appoint Christy Knapp to the BZA board, and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Knapp. Go to table business. We want to keep the handbook revisions on there. Of course, the ordinance 2024-033. Solar moratorium, do you want to speak any?
I'd make a motion to take that off the table so I can provide an update.
Okay. A motion and a second to take the solar moratorium off the table. Okay, can you call roll?
Commissioner Brand. Yes. Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes.
So I've met in the last 2 weeks with a number of folks. Additionally, I've probably had close to 40 meetings at this point. The last 2 weeks I've met with people that are pro, people that are against, and people that are neutral. People that are going to live with it, people that are going to benefit from it, as well as some of the companies. And I actually had a new company I've never even heard of before reach out to me, and I'm meeting with them tomorrow. I don't know if they have a project in Delaware County or not. We also met with Brooke Struble recently and went through the proposals to the amendments from the League of Women Voters, from National Grid Renewables, from there's a group in Horton that put some things together. Everybody would like to see a change to the current ordinance. So we met for close to 3 hours, I believe, and tried to consolidate some of that data into a single document. The next steps would be, once we get that finalized, we would send that to the Metropolitan Planning Commission. It would get on their next regularly scheduled meeting. They will not schedule a special meeting for that. That will be considered the first reading of a new ordinance. Depending on what the Metropolitan Planning Commission responds with, they could send it back to the commissioners with a recommendation to approve. They could say, we want to send this to a committee. There are several options that they could take, and there's no way to sit here today and predict what the Metropolitan Planning Commission is going to do. Let's make up a story and say that the Planning Commission sends it back to the commissioners. It would be on the commissioners' next regularly scheduled meeting for consideration. At that time, the commissioners could make a couple of different decisions. They could adopt the recommendation coming back from the Planning Commission. They could send it back and ask for adjustments. So, to give a date today on when this is going to be completed, I can't do that, depending on the actions of the Planning Commission and depending on the reaction of the commissioners. But the plan is to get this ordinance completed and sunset the moratorium. It will include something for battery energy storage systems. I don't know if it will be in the existing ordinance or it'll be a separate ordinance. That's still up for debate. And then, there are a number of other things that we'll have to consider in the future. So that's the general update for the activities that have happened and what the path forward is. I'm sorry I can't give a definitive timeline because I can't predict or anticipate what the Planning Commission is going to recommend. I'd also like to update a few things that were going on at the State House. There was a House Bill 1628 that was talking about multi-jurisdictional projects and taking the home rule authority away from the local, like the commissioners, for example. I did talk to some folks at the State House last week, and the spirit of that bill was focused on infrastructure. So, for example, if Randolph County had a project and the infrastructure needed to run through Delaware County to connect to a substation in Delaware County, this bill was to address those multi-jurisdictional situations where Randolph County and Delaware County don't have the same zoning ordinances because they have different planning commissions and different commissioners. This would help level set that situation. I believe that bill didn't make it out of committee in time by the deadline last Monday, so I would say for the most part that bill is dead. There's also been comments about trying to educate the commissioners, which I appreciate, about the amount of the amount of energy that's imported into the state of Indiana. And depending on who you look at, it could be anywhere from 16 to 20%. But the fact is Delaware County imports 100% of our power. And, I don't know if that's an influence on how the ordinance is going to end up or not, but that's a fact. I'll tell you, based on my personal experience in my last, 38 years running manufacturing in this county, our grid's about as stable as I've ever experienced it. I used to see blackouts and brownouts all the time. That's not the case now. When one of those would happen, it cost you $100,000 to put in variable frequency drives and computers that got wiped out. So haven't seen that. I think our grid's about as stable as I've seen it in a long time. There's also been folks say, hey, there have been multiple moratoriums and multiple steps that are delaying this process and delaying these projects from getting off the ground. I don't know if that's entirely true. This goes back to like May of 21 when I believe the county council and the commissioners first heard it. I think some of the landowners maybe knew about this in 2016 or 2017, but there have been big gaps in time in between those moratoriums where if a company was ready, they could have put an application in, and they simply didn't do it. Including this last time. I think the last time the moratorium was lifted, it was 9 months before the commissioners put one in place again. So if somebody was ready, they would have done it. So I think that saying that these moratoriums are delaying solar, I don't know if that's 100% true. I do understand that those companies have to read what the ordinance says and make adjustments to their plans and get it in place, but surely 9 months is plenty of time to do that. And I'll just say that, we're all smarter today than we were yesterday, including myself, and we're learning a lot about those situations. I did some research. The grid manager that controls our area is called PJM, and they put out a report every year. This report's called the Resource Adequacy and Capacity Accreditation within the PJM grid. And basically what they do is they do a resource accreditation. They look at all the different types of power generation, from hydro to solar fixed, solar, tiltable, small modular reactors, wind. They look at everything. And at the end of the day, they give a reliability rating of these different types of power. And if you'll bear with me for a second, I thought I had this dog eared. I do. I'll tell you, right now, solar is not as reliable as everybody thinks that it is. And this is straight from PJM's website, and I'll share some information from the Department of Energy as well. So for the 2025-2026 rating of PJM, that's who manages our grid, they consider solar tracking panels to only be 14% reliable. Landfill gas, 54%. We don't have any hydro, but for the record, it's 37%. Then they get into battery energy storage and how reliable that is. Of 4 hours, 59%. A 6-hour storage is 67%, an 8-hour storage is 68%, and a 10-hour storage is 78%. So definitely battery energy storage is much more reliable than solar panels, and that's why they want to put these in place to store the energy while it is being done. Nuclear is 95% reliable, only to be taken down for refueling and downtime. Coal 84%, natural gas 79%, and diesel 92%. There are a couple of others in there like steam, but they don't apply in our area. So in addition, the reason I researched this is some folks said, hey, if we would approve 3,000 acres of under panel solar, it would power all the homes and all the businesses in Delaware County for the next how many years? Well, that's not true, according to PJM's site. If you put in 3,000 acres of panels and use these formulas that are in PJM's handout here, it would probably power under 500 homes in Delaware County. That's a far cry from, what's being sold. So you have to look at the nameplate on the solar installation and then apply these efficiency factor ratings to it, and it's much less efficient than I think what people were originally anticipating. And those percentages are significantly derated from the year before. So they're learning as they go and looking at what's really happening and looking in real time. From the Department of Energy, and this is from 2020, so it's a little bit older, they had solar at 25%. So I looked at multiple sources for the reliability and the data that I'm sharing today. I think there's more, but I think that's all I want to update for today. And unless there's any further discussion,
I just want to be clear. The next Planning Commission meeting is March 6th, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, but to get it on the agenda, we'd also have to advertise.
Yeah, so there's no way, even if the attorney's office got those done this week, there's almost no way it could be the Planning Commission meeting of March 6th.
Right. I think April 3rd was what we had discussed when that was the best case, was April 3rd.
So just to be clear, it's not going to go on.
It can't
Can't go on
March 6th.
the March 6th meeting. There's not enough time. So it'll be look for it. I'm not saying it will be. I'm saying look for it on the April 3rd meeting. Is everybody clear on that? So that would be a public hearing also.
Right, first reading and public hearing.
Yeah, first readings and public hearing. So
And we want people to show up and speak.
look for it April 3rd. I want to make everybody clear on that.
And I'm pretty sure we'll probably use 3100 South Tillotson.
Yeah, and that will probably be held out at the Justice Center in the auditorium. So again, I want to make everybody clear. The earliest it can be is April 3rd for public hearing.
So, Sherry, any comments?
No.
I make a motion to put it back on the table.
Second.
I have a motion to put the solar moratorium back on the table in a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brand? Yes. Mr. Reagan?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes. Yeah, bid openings for, we have a couple road projects we opened bids for and, highway material. Angie, do you wanna?
I provided everyone the bid tabulation sheet. If anyone has any questions regarding that. But, in regards to the annual material bids for the highway department, in the past, we've always awarded to all bidders, depending on if they have the materials and location of where our projects are. I need an approval, on that, as well as the road paving projects, which are being 50% funded by community crossing grant funds. The low overall bidder was EMD paving on that, but Stephen Brain asked a question in regards to one of the roads, another contractor had a lower bid. So we were discussing the possibility of splitting up the award. for the 3 road projects. County Road 650 South between 540 East and 419 East. Brooks Construction was actually lower than even paving on that one. So, I'm gonna reach out to NDOT to ask if that is so I don't know if you want to make a recommendation based on, is okay with splitting it up. I'm not sure exactly how you want to pursue, but those are our options.
I'd make a motion to take this off the table so we can
So thank you, Steve.
vote on it.
Got a motion to take it off the table so we can vote. In a second, roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand. Yes. Commissioner Henry.
Yes.
So, Angie is correct. Brooks was lower, I believe by roughly $7,000 on one of the projects, and that is the least expensive path for the Delaware County citizens if we are allowed to split it up. So before I make a motion, I'll wait to see if anybody else has a comment.
No, I agree. I just do not want to, mess up that grant process.
Yeah.
So if it's allowable, then I would like to split them. If it's not, I would like to just stick with E&B's vote.
I agree.
So I would entertain a motion to,
Split the bids.
split if we can. If not, allow her to go ahead with, the other 2 bids.
Second.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Sherry second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the, road work. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand. Yes. Commissioner Henry.
Yes. Now, on the material, quotes, bids that we got in, normally, our normal process is to approve all those, material bids. Is that still what you'd like to do, Ms. Moyer?
And who's your recommendation? Who's your recommendation?
Okay. So for the asphalt mixes and liquid asphalt, we received bids from First Brooks Construction, E&B Paving, IMI, Park Asphalt, and Milestone. I'd recommend awarding to all of those for the asphalt mixes. The crushed stone or sand, we only received a bid from IMI from 3 locations. I recommend awarding all 3 of those. And then for fuel, we received a bid from AgBest.
So I believe traditionally the commissioners have approved all bid submissions, which gives you the flexibility to pull from
Wherever they need to.
wherever you need to based on the location of the project. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve all the bids as submitted.
Second.
A motion to approve those bids in a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand. Yes. Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes. Thank you. Next,
One more quick question for Angie. Angie, we had talked before about you were gonna get some quotes on milling services. Have you been able to obtain any quotes just for milling services?
I believe Troy was putting that together. Tommy, do you have an update for the milling?
Okay,
I can handle that.
thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
all right, next we have approval of minutes, Commissioner meeting February 3rd, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as printed and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes. Next, we have, presentations to the commissioners, BW construction update.
Morning, Commissioners. Morning. I'm Mark Manship, Project Manager for the Mental Health Facility Project for BW Construction, Build, Operate, Transfer. This is a report for the progress through January, so some of these are in the rears. As far as contract status, construction progress, and schedule summary. So original contract value has not changed. We don't have any owner change orders at this time, so the contract value will remain at $7,996,017. As far as the construction progress update, the site work, water main extension installed up to the tap, and that is of course pending weather, has not changed much from the last report due to weather conditions. We did cover that water main area up with sand to protect it from weather, so we don't have any freezing issues. Sanitary extension is in similar status. We've installed the piping up to the tap location and awaiting better weather before we make those tap connections. Data conduit from the building out to the construction limits has been completed and covered up. Again, waiting for asphalt plant so that we can cross that walking path and do our patchwork at that time. We don't want to disturb the path until we have a means to replace it. Water meter pit and the fire line vault has been installed. We are waiting temperatures so that we can connect that piping. So it's in place. Lift station and grinder pit up next to the building is in the same status. We've installed the pit itself, backfilled, but we're awaiting temperatures before we can conduct the piping connections. Parking lot undercut and stabilization with compacted stone, still in the same status, waiting spring asphalt plants to reopen before we can pave that area. The stabilization is being very effective. We've been using it for staging and some contractor parking or offloading, and it's held up very well. So we're quite confident that that's going to be a great subgrade once we are able to get asphalt in place. Detention pond seeding and grass germinating before the freeze, and we had a little spat of warmer weather. Was able to see that grass is still doing quite well. We're keeping contractors off of it so it doesn't get disturbed. Our mock-up wall to show some of our framing efforts and some of those systems, coordinating for the weather barrier and insulation system. It's about 75% complete. It does have the brick installed on it. It does have the weather barrier. Had that reviewed by Tyvek DuPont rep to make sure that we were going to meet all of our warranty items. And also coordinate the efforts between the two different contractors putting that system together. So that's in place on site, including a window frame in place so you can see how that system comes together in detail. As far as the building exterior framing and sheathing, the first layer was completed. Exterior insulation system install is in progress. Again, awaiting temperatures, so some of those adhesives, sealants, things that are more temperature dependent can take place. Made as much progress as we could with the temperatures that we've had to work with. Truss installation is completed. Detailing and bracing is in progress. Most of the detailing is done at this point. We're finishing up some of the structural stabilization. So the structure itself is very stable. It'll hold its own weight. We can continue to build on it. We're getting some of those final structural items in place that'll make it resistant to extreme weathers. Roof decking is completed. Penetrations from the MEP trades were in progress at the time of this report. Those have been completed as well with all boots. And to the point last meeting, we discussed having coverings on those raw wood surfaces, which has been installed. We do have our underlayments in place to protect that, as well as the Tyvek weather barrier on the outside of the building. So those wood surfaces are now under protection. Insulation weather barrier, of course, is in progress and will complete as soon as we get the temperatures to do our adhesives and some of those flexible tapes and things. As far as the building interior shear walls, those are the structural walls that have 2 layers of plywood to resist any wind loads, things of that nature. The 1 layer of plywood has been completed. Again, those structural bracings have to occur before we can complete the other layer. So that'll make the building nice and sound. Plumbing rough-in is in progress. We have carrier set for the restroom stools, ventings up through the roof, of course, for those penetrations, and some of the other in-attic space piping that has to occur. Those items have been completed. Electrical rough-in is in progress. We've had temporary lights strung through the building. Of course, once we closed up all those openings, wrapped the building with Tyvek, got pretty dark in there. We have our temporary lighting in place, and they are working now on some of the home runs of those electrical lines through the attic space. HVAC rough-in is also in progress. The exhaust penetration's in progress. They have gone through the roof. We have the hoods, curbs in place, as well as some of the ductwork and insulation efforts up in the attic space that's going to be covered up. Fire protection rough-in is in progress. We've had materials delivered to the site. The dry system up in the attic through the trusses That is a majority complete at this time, but as far as this January report, we just wanted to note that those fire systems are in progress. So after we get everything up in the attic spaces, then we have a layer of drywall that goes on the bottom of the trusses. There's a plenum space between that and the ceilings. So we try to get everything finished up in the attic before we close that space, and we're almost there. I did include some progress photos related to those items that I listed on the site and interior progress, including a picture of the mock-up from the January time period. We'll update those for the next meeting, showing the February progress. We've had no critical issues on the projects, no lost time for injuries or anything of that nature, but we have lost a little bit of time for weather, just based on sealant temperatures, masonry requires temperatures. So we've lost a few days because of that. We're still tracking that, and at the time of this report, we were not showing any completion changes. So as far as the milestone schedule, did make some updates based on those. Made updates to the dry-in and interior build-out on this report, which of course is subject to change next period. Any questions? Yeah, thank you. So, there's a delay in the completion of this that's going to be documented via change order, but it's a no-cost change order, correct? That's correct. That's correct. Okay.
It's delayed because of permitting process and weather.
Permitting process at the beginning of the project was delayed by 2 months for the drainage permit, the city of Muncie, and I think that had largely to do with the water main extension, sanitary extension, some of the drainage items. We did have weather delays built into the schedule. We were trying to, accomplish the project by using those weather delays, but inevitably we're in the winter months, so we've had to go back to realize the permitting delays at the beginning of the project. I believe we have those in review now. So if that is realized, then we'll present that at the next meeting. Your grinder pump and lift station, it's a forced main situation that goes to the Muncie Sanitary District's That's right. line. Is there any coordination with Isaiah House across the street, or you may not know and you don't have to know the answer, but is there coordination with Isaiah House across the street, or are they running their own line? As far as I know, the Isaiah House across the street is running their own line, or I've not heard any coordination efforts on their part to connect to ours.
Okay. There was discussion about that. You remember that? There was discussion at one time, but I think it's been
Separate.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
I think we all agree. I know it delayed a little bit, but we want the appropriate temperature for some of the adhesives you're using. So I think
And the roofing.
and the roofing, yeah. So
Absolutely.
we want a good product when you're done. So we'd like for you to make sure it's all done correct.
Yes.
So we're good with that for a little delay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I do have a copy of this too, if anyone would like to look at it after the meeting. We have the vending contracts and approval, vending contract, Danielle.
This is the contract that's required by the state. It's mandated. I know John has reviewed this, so this is ready for your guys' approval.
So this is the vending contract for the vending machines in the buildings, and it's for the blind and visually impaired service, which is a department in the state of Indiana. And the code that Daniel referenced is 12-12-5-1, sole vending opportunities by the Bureau. Except as provided in Section 3 of this particular chapter, the Bureau is given sole vending opportunities in buildings owned, leased, in whole, or operated by the state, the county, that's why we're here today, a township, a city, or a town, for the purpose of providing blind individuals with remunerative employment and enlarging the economic opportunities of blind. So that's the purpose of this contract.
So when I come in, there was I felt like some of the vending machines were kind of empty, and there was some issues.
There were some issues about 3 or 4 months ago, but I think that's been fixed.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I kind of brought it up then that maybe we should look at outside vendor to look at this contract, and I was corrected right away that we're not allowed to do that. So,
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the vending contract.
motion to approve the vending contract and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes. Next, we have the Crown Castle consent letter. Danielle?
My understanding, there are some negotiations going on with this tower at the highway garage. But this portion of the consent letter is just their request to be able to, transfer the service to AT&T. The rest of the negotiations are still ongoing, so this portion would be your approval for them to move to AT&T as the provider.
So,
I was thinking that we just give this company permission and they go out and find the vendor.
And I think specifically they want AT&T is my understanding.
so,
That's just gonna be another add-on.
so as I understand it, looking back through it, over the weekend, it looks like this line is either owned by T-Mobile or A&T, and the other one's gonna get added to the tower in parallel with extending this contract, which expires, pretty soon. So they sent us a lease extension term sheet. It basically moves our monthly lease from $700 a month to $825 a month. It would also have some automatic increases built in, like after a period of 5 years each time. And this is at the county highway garage. This tower's out on 32. So that $125 increase brings us an additional $10,000 a year. We would also, with this negotiation, and I think this is very clever, what John did, we negotiated a 15% revenue sharing agreement for others that would be using that tower. So that will be some additional income that I don't know that we can quantify at this time. They wanted us to waive the consent and sublease language. I do not agree with that. I don't think that John does either. They requested a last right of refusal. Let's say that the county moves the highway garage, which I don't see any time in the next long time. They wanted the last right of refusal to own that tower. They've invested a lot of money on that tower, and they wanted to be able to own it if the county didn't own the ground anymore. I see no reason not to put that in. This original lease was signed in '96, and they requested a 30-year extension. I think the first time this came up before the commissioners, before I got here, you guys wanted to hold tight on the 20. I don't know if that's still.
We've been working on it for about a year now.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's still an emotional topic for you guys or not, but there would be an escalation clause of a 10% rate increase every 3 years. And then in their term sheet, they have very specifically the $825 a month. That commences on October 1st of 27, so that doesn't happen right away. The 10% term escalation commencing on October 1st of 2032, so that doesn't happen right away either. 30-year lease extension instead of 20. That would cause it to expire in 2057. If you can imagine what our county will look like then. And then a 15% revenue share for all future tenants, and then adding the right of refusal. That's what is being considered today.
John's been working very hard on it finally, and he was telling us that the earlier we can sign, the better it helps on the terms of the people they're trying to work with, but
So
we want to get it done right.
what's your pleasure about the consent letter?
I don't want to give up that language.
Well,
That's my advice, and I believe it's John's too.
yeah.
The consent to sublease. I mean, what's your opinion? If we give it up, there's no mechanism to notify the county of any additional business being added to that. And we have very specifically that we want a piece of the new business. So if we give up that consent to advise language, consent to sublease language, we give up that communication mechanism. That's the only way I see that they have an obligation to tell us what they're doing differently with the tower. So I would like to not give it up.
That's your motion.
The motion is to decline.
Second.
Decline the consent to sublease, but accept their term sheet.
Correct.
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brigham.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand. Yes. Commissioner Henry.
Yes. Next, we have the Penny Bow software renewal. Sarah?
This is just a renewal for our certified mail software. So our current price is $286.98 per month. And our new price will be $218.73 per month, which is like a $31.75 difference. It's 48 months.
So we had a couple calls with Pitney Bowes, and the first call, we didn't understand really what they were asking us for. So we added some folks to the call, like the clerk, the courts, and the auditor, the mailroom, and the commissioners. And at the end of the day, they're basically changing their software. We don't have any choice but to move on. And I do think it's going to add some features that'll be handy. The mailroom brought up some good points. I appreciate Mike Jones being on that call and adding that input. And I would make a motion to approve the new Pitney Bowes software update and renewal contract.
Second.
The old software,
They're going to quit support that.
yeah, there will be no support for that, so we really don't have a choice.
That's right.
So I have a motion to approve and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand? Yes. Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yeah.
So.
Next is, you have anything else on Pitney Bowes? Next is, funding for IRACs and unsafe housing.
So at a previous commissioner meeting, the IREX folks came and made a presentation and asked the commissioners for $75,000. And in reviewing the history of this, going way back, originally there wasn't going to be a request from I'm going way back. This wasn't going to be a request for funding for the commissioners. And then the city got involved, and the city was asked for $25,000. The commissioners were asked for $25,000. That was granted. And now they're, over time, now they're asking for $75,000. In reviewing our edit plan, which expires July 30th of this year, I'm not sure that we can support that entire ask at this time, but we do believe that we have money, I think, commissioners, in project number 4, which is economic development. I believe we have the money in there to fund $50,000. And then we have an obligation now for the next couple of months to identify our edit projects for the next plan. So this edit plan that's in front of us today was a 4-year plan. We need to do another 4-year plan, and we can perhaps identify some additional monies if they come back and ask for the other 25 later. On the unsafe housing, Tom Fouch was here at a previous meeting and talked about the number of houses that he has to tear down, gave us a ballpark estimate of about $50,000 also. And we've identified Project 11, which is our building upgrade and or maintenance fund. There's $300,000 in that for 2025, and I do believe that we agreed that there's $50,000 room in that Project 11 fund to give the unsafe housing the $50,000 that they asked for. So that's the update.
I think it would be fine if we took that money out of both those projects. Sarah and I sit down and review all that, so I don't see a problem with that. So do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the $50,000 for IRACs out of, I think it was Project 3, and the $50,000 for unsafe housing out of Project 11.
Second.
I'm sorry, Project 4 and 11.
We have a motion and a second to approve the funding for IRACs, $50,000 and unsafe housing. As stated, I know IRACs asked for $75,000. That is a very important project out of the jail, or a program out of the jail that continues daily. I want us to remember when we start looking at the new plan, that if we could potentially come up with another $25,000 somewhere after June or July to provide that program, I think we should. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Brand?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes. Next, we have the ECI RPD contract. I asked Bill Walters with ECI RPD to come up with a contract to run all of the Delaware County's economic development. Mr. Walters did provide a contract. At this time, I would entertain a motion to table that contract. I would like Mr. Walters to go back and revisit that contract and look at potentially just running the international part of economic development. Mr. Walters, do you have a comment?
No, we've had some good meetings and good discussions. Mayor's been involved a whole bit, so you guys have kind of changed the parameters a little bit, but no, we'll sit back down and put something else together. I'm sure we'll have some more conversations between here and there. No, I think that's where we need to be at this point.
Very good. I'd entertain a motion to table that contract.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand?
Yes.
Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes. All right. Next, we have, ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 2025-03, creating new fund for grant-funded Delaware County Adult Drug Court.
So moved.
Second.
Good morning, Jane Miranda, Community Corrections.
Do you want to just briefly give us another description real quick so everybody's aware?
Sure. Both of these are mine, the drug court and the veterans court. These are three of our smaller grants, along with the mental health court that you guys did in January. These are from the Indiana Office of Court Services. Each one of these grants is under $10,000. They go for training, drug screens for participants, treatment cost, incentives for the participants, like we just purchased a bed for someone that got their first house, work boots, things like that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And you needed a separate fund to properly track them.
These were historically put in our user fee funds, and so we just easier tracking for the state.
Thank you. So for ordinance 2025-03, Sherry made the motion.
And I seconded.
Yes. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand? Yes. Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes. So we have ordinance 2025-04, creating a new fund for the grant-funded Delaware County Veterans Treatment Court, which Jane also described. I'd entertain a motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
A motion for adoption and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand? Yes. Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have ordinance 2025-05, imposing a moratorium on filing of accepting any new applications for solar energy installations. I want to go ahead and take that back off the table, just to do this ordinance.
Okay. Motion to remove from the table if it's necessary.
We have a motion to remove from the table in a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand? Yep. Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes. Now I'd entertain a motion for adoption of ordinance 2025-05.
So moved.
Second.
So a motion for adoption and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand? Yes. Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes. Next, we have resolutions for approval. Resolution number 2025-02, approval for the 2024 changes to the official zoning maps for Delaware County.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kylene Swackhammer from the Planning Commission. So this is the annual approval of all the zone changes that happened throughout the year. 2024, there were 3 for the county. These did go before the Planning Commission, received recommendations, and then they were approved by you. This is just approving the entire compilation of the changes throughout the year.
This is to update our official maps, right?
Yes,
On GIS.
This is done every year.
Yes, and the maps have already been updated. This is just to kind of approve the summary of these.
The ceremony.
Make them official.
The city does the same thing, right? There's a separate ordinance for the city, and the city updates their maps, right?
Yes.
This is just for the county.
Yes.
Right. Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-02.
Second.
A motion to approve this resolution and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand? Yes. Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Super.
Next, we have old business. We have printing and postage for property taxes. Is there anyone here?
Is Brad Polk out there?
Is Brad out there? Okay, he's coming now.
Good timing.
You made it just in time.
Perfect
So-
timing. We were trying to watch it downstairs and all that stuff, so.
Good idea.
Okay, so what we're asking for, is nothing new. I mean, we did it last year as well, and I think several years before I got here. So the printing costs and the postage costs for the tax statements, we mail out and they print, about 65, I think this year's estimate is 65,500 statements, that go out. And we've used, the Master's Touch LLC the previous 4 years, might be 5. They also offer e-notices, and that's something that we're trying to introduce to the public more and more each year. What that is signing up for tax statements by email. They would receive those instead of postage and mailing out. They would receive them by email, and then they could pay however they want to. And then also Master's Touch also offers a recurring payment method to help. That also helps the ease the burden of postage if they sign up for the e-statements, and then the recurring payments. They can pay monthly. They can pay bi-weekly if they want to. So that's something that the Master's Touch does that no one else does. So that's kind of why we went with the Master's Touch. But last year, I have this statement here. It looks like it was a total of $34,000 and it was like $34,500. And so this year's bill, I have them. I can pass them out to you guys. You can take a look at them. It's $34,530.03. And that is an estimate based on how many actual pieces they mail out. Because like some of those parcels can be, some companies or individuals might own 5 or 6 and use the same address, so they can actually reduce that a little bit. So that is just an estimate that they sent to me on Saturday for the $34,530.03. So that is what we are asking for assistance on.
So people have the option to sign up via email. So what's that process look like? You contact them, or in their tax bill they get a notice?
They get a notice in the tax bill. We have an insert that goes in the tax bill. E-notices. It's individual sheet, and then the code is actually on the tax bill that they can then sign up for.
And they could make payments as often as every week if they'd like.
If they want to, yeah.
Rather
they
than
can
waiting twice a year.
Right.
And some people pay up front, right?
So that way, and it's a little easier for the taxpayers, because that way they can break it down. I do that myself through my credit union. I pay every 2 weeks. So when we get paid, part of it goes to escrow, and then when the tax bill, boom, I can just pay it right then and there. But this allows the system to do it, not an individual. So they can actually have it automatically drawn out of their account. I actually signed up for it last year to test it. Last year was our first year of getting that to actually work and be effective. And it was very easy. Very easy to get signed up for.
Where do we pay this out of traditionally?
Does this come out of your budget?
So out of my budget, I don't have any postage line. The council did not give me a postage line. So it comes out of that. I did last year, was able to pull 5,000 out of the printing towards that 34,000. So I think your total cost was around 20. Look here. 10. Was about let me see here. Yeah, it was with the 10,000 739 plus the 24, so it was right around 34.5. Came out of your budget, and then for postage.
So you're saying this year it's 34,530.03, right?
Mm-hmm.
This kind of goes back to the discussion we had with Pitney Bowes and trying to get. I think all the departments need to take care of their own postage and put that in their budget.
Right.
We need to encourage the council to approve those budgets.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it needs to be split up.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had to pay for this out of edit, we just paid for.
No, this will
Comes out of our postage
come out of
line
our
and
postage.
comes out of
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Where's it come from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not much of a difference, so
No.
it came out pretty good.
I'd entertain a motion to approve, the request from Mr. Polk for the 34,530.03.
So moved.
And I'll second, understanding, are you still gonna pull $5,000 out of your postage line for this year?
Yes, so, and I might be able to squeeze a little more, maybe make it 7, so it might be 32 that you guys would need to do.
So I'd like to,
You'd love 7.
yeah,
I'm trying to.
thank you.
I'm trying to.
If you can pick up that extra $30.03, that'd be great.
Yeah, and well, the other thing is council did reduce some of my budget line items, this past year. Actually 2 years ago, they dropped about 3,000 of it, so now we're working with less, but we're trying to be more effective in doing that, as far as postage, and of course postage keeps going up. So that's why we're trying to find other ways, the e-statements, those kind of things to get, the cheaper costs.
Brett, have you seen the other counties, when they went on the emails, how much it's cut their budget?
It has, and I would say we've got probably already, 1,000, 1,500 maybe, because I think at one point we were up to about 67 or 8,000 parcels that we mailed out to, and so that has dropped about 60 to about 65.5.
Thanks.
So we're gonna pay up to $34,530.03, understanding that Brad's gonna try to take some out of his postage budget. Correct. Okay.
You made
She
the
made the
motion.
motion, I made the second. I don't know if we need to amend the motion officially or not, but,
Should we amend it?
I would.
so I'll amend the motion and I'll make the motion to approve up to $34,530.03, understanding that the treasurer's office will try to pull somewhere between $5,000 to $7,000 out of their postage line.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand. Yes. Commissioner Henry.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have, building upgrade quotes. Mr. Humbert.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners. You guys all have the quotes, correct?
This is for the salt barn.
It's for the salt barn plus an add-on that is coming off our west building that will enable us to park our mowers and some other equipment in and keep them out of the weather. Currently, we're having to store stuff at the fairgrounds that we've outgrown ourselves out there. We have too much stuff and we really need to try to keep the stuff inside, so that's the reason I'm, both of the shelters will be 3-sided. We're coming off, the salt barn with a lean-to. We'll be coming off the west barn with a lean-to also.
For the record, can you say what the prices were?
Yeah, do you mean to read them off for all the companies? Okay, sure.
That way people understand.
Okay, so for the
Try to
west,
source a little
for
bit.
the west barn add-on, which is a 22 by 110, so it's 22 foot by 110 feet at 13 foot tall. Newsom Construction was $35,500. Thornburg and Sons was $44,500. Iker Construction was $44,635. So that's the quotes I have on those. The salt barn, the salt barn is actually going to be a 20 by 72 by 13. It's going to have to have concrete walls 6 foot tall and everything like that. I think you guys are aware of that, like what we're doing with that. Newsom Construction was $58,200. Thornburg and Sons was $68,700. Iker Construction, $77,300.
And so you gave them basically a request for proposal. You gave them the parameters. Have you confirmed that everybody quoted the same?
Yes, I looked through everything. Everything is pretty much on. To be honest with you, Newsom kind of upgraded some stuff. I told him I really didn't want upgraded, like the laminated 4x6s and stuff like that. I mean, they upgraded, and they were still the cheapest.
This is something, Tommy's been requesting for quite some time. was something that we had talked about getting in the art plan when we, redid the art plan, and it just never really made it there, but, it's something that's really needed. I know the fairgrounds, they like getting those tractors out as soon as possible. And they've been gracious enough to let you store them in there, so we appreciate that, but, it'd be nice to keep all that equipment out the highway.
So this would come out of the revenue replacement fund from ARP,
Correct.
and your recommendation is to go with Newsom for both?
It is, absolutely. I want to go with the lowest. I think everything's going to be the same. I do want to put a time frame on this. I don't want it to be drug out, you know, so I don't know if I should have said that before, but I want to put a time frame on, and I don't know if it's reasonable or not, but I'd like for it to be done by the 1st of June.
Where's Newsom located?
Actually, I don't, let me see if I can look here on the thing. They're here locally, I'm not sure.
Delaware County?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Their office is on North Granville. And then Thornburg is also local.
That's okay. You're recommending Newsom and their.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as, unless you guys think that's unreasonable, I don't want to, I mean, we need to have stuff up and where we can prepare for next winter.
I make a
We don't
motion
need
to
to call.
approve Newsom for the equipment barn and Newsom for the salt barn, and those funds would come out of the revenue replacement fund from ARP.
A motion to approve the request and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brand? Yes. Commissioner Reagan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes,
We've needed those for a long time.
thank you.
Any other questions or anything? Okay, I want to let you guys know. So this weekend we kind of, we were humbled at the highway department. We were into a lot of winds that were strong and everything. But I do want to give a thanks to my guys. We had guys come in with, influenza A. They plowed. I mean, I just want to give a shout to them because, without that, like I said, nothing would be done. So, also the farmers. Hey, the farmers are our biggest ally. I appreciate the help from them too. So I think that's everything.
Thank you.
So thank you all.
Totally
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other department heads or elected officials? All right, hearing none, have the payment of claims of $3,775,275.82.
I reviewed those. Still, there were 4 sets of claims had no descriptions on them. They had an invoice number in the invoice column and an invoice number in the invoice line description, so I didn't sign those, and I don't intend
No,
to.
I noticed that. We'll have to give him some grace because it's something new. So I'm sure Mr. Auditor Carroll could remind him that this is your wish. And
I brought it up on January 6th.
I'll be honest, when the credit cards come in, that's going to be a big problem because descriptions need to be there too.
And they can just be simple 3 or 4 word descriptions.
Yeah,
you know,
department,
an
supplies.
invoice number, it doesn't do anyone any good. But I did want to, one of the large items in the claims is the local income tax. So the lit certified shares, that total is $1,336,948.92. Also, public safety lit came in, that's $557,062 even. And the edit lit came in at $891,299.25. So of this claim today, lit makes up $2,785,310.17.
I'm glad you pointed that out because
It's a huge
I
portion.
could remember where all it went, but those units, gotta get it out to them. I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand. No. Commissioner Henry.
Yes. Next is, payment of our claims of $1,094,975.89.
I'd like to just briefly describe some of those as well. So that total claim, the Justice Center, the mental health facilities received an $839,152.13. The administration of the ARP and the advisory services. So this is from Brooke Struble, Unique Computer Services and Baker Tilly. They're our municipal advisor. That's $10,930 combined. money was distributed to Selma for the Bell Road, utility. That's $182,568.14. United Consulting, for the Salem Shell Infrastructure Project, that's $6,220. And RQAW for professional services, they had 3 separate bills totaling $34,531.62. So that's the explanation for the American Rescue Plan distribution today.
Motion to pay the claims,
Second.
and a second, roll call please.
Commissioner Brand?
Yes.
Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes. Next, we have payment of payroll, 2/12/25, $1,039,038.15.
I'll second that, and I'll still make my request the same as I did on January 6th. I'd like to see some detail behind these claims, but I am going to make a motion to approve, or second the motion to approve. Getting people paid properly and on time is important.
And I do appreciate the auditor's office bringing them up on Thursday afternoon, and sometimes, maybe not until Friday morning, but it gives us the weekend to look them over and ask questions on Monday morning.
Roll call please.
Commissioner Reagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Brand?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
I would like to ask Mr. Carroll, I don't know if it's been printed or not, but every year by January or February, the payroll, what everybody earned is supposed to be printed. Now, since the newspaper's still here, so I didn't know if Tanya's gotten that done yet or not.
I can't speak to her, but we can get you a copy if you like a copy.
And we could post it downstairs someplace for the public to come in and look too.
Tanya Dunsmore, Chief Deputy Auditor. I no longer do that job personally, but the girls who do handle that, they will be doing that. They normally do that in the paper, along with the rates at the same time. And last year it was in March. Yep. It has been submitted to Gateway, so it should be there, and then also available in our office. Thank you.
Do you have any other comments?
No, I don't.
Ms. Reagan? Commissioner Brand, do you have any comments?
I do. You want to go to public comment?
Would you like me to do that first?
Sure.
Before you say anything?
And
Okay.
does anybody need a break?
Are you good to go?
There you go.
We have a full page.
I'm good.
Okay. If we need a break, just say something. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to public comment. Danielle, can you keep my time for me, please? Everyone will be given 3 minutes to speak. We'll go through this list, and the first on the list is Linda Hanson.
Trying to keep my own timer. Good morning. I'm Linda Hanson, 1400 West North Street, spokesperson for the League of Women Voters of Muncie, Delaware County. As we have watched this solar controversy play out over more than 4 years, we've also seen the county's need for an influx of tax dollars rise. We've kept landowners in limbo, essentially telling them what they can't do with their land. We've kept businesses that want to locate in Delaware County in limbo as well, preventing them from moving forward with investments already made. But indecision has perpetuated the controversy. We welcome what appears to be movement forward with the process Commissioner Brand has outlined. But controversy here does not make us alone. As Commissioner Brand noted, House Bill 1628 is dead. It would have allowed the state to better plan for meeting the state's energy needs by giving the state more decision-making control over the zoning and approval processes for power plants, water systems, gas pipelines, and transmission that span multiple jurisdictions. The opposition from county officials was emphatic. Legislators were tampering with home rule. The bulk of testimony I heard favored the bill in its original form, but elected officials tipped the balance. There are primary elections next year, after all. The related bills currently rising to the top all favor building small modular nuclear reactors, or SMRs. The bills would require electric utility customers to pay for the engineering, planning, and permitting costs before a utility even seeks final approval to build SMRs. SMRs are yet an unproven technology for which ratepayers should not have to pay. Only China and Russia have built these to date. Costs associated with project delays, budget overruns, and canceled projects will fall on ratepayers if this legislation continues and passes. HB 1007, the others were coming from the Senate, also shifts costs of SMRs and outdated coal generation onto ratepayers and taxpayers. It's passed out of the House and onto the Senate. Our legislature is looking for ways to support the state's growing energy demands, but without support from counties that are pro-growth, they're going to support utilities taking control. Where does this leave us in Delaware County? Well, costs but not benefits are going to come down on Delaware County ratepayers and taxpayers. Wind and solar paired with energy storage are currently cheaper and faster to build than their fossil fuel counterparts. We need to use solar as a transition to nuclear if it's used, as we have used natural gas to transition from coal. Delaware County needs to be open for business. The need is urgent. The questions remain. Is your timer going off? Mine went off fast.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
your time's up.
Who's compiling the new ordinance?
Time's up.
Now it's up.
Is that process going to be public? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll hold you to that.
Holly Hanauer.
Good morning, I'm Holly Hanauer. My address is 4700 West Woodway Drive in Muncie. I'd like to read you something that appeared in Monday's Indiana Capital Chronicle. This article reads, "Overwhelming opposition from county officials has likely killed a Republican bill that could shift authority over large-scale utility infrastructure projects from local governments to the state," just as Linda was referencing. This recent discourse continues a larger years-long fight between local and state officials to decide the reach and limits of Indiana's home rule standard. So Representative Ed Soliday, who chairs the House Utilities Committee, called this bill a response to ongoing resistance of local governments to solar, wind, and other renewable projects that are increasingly necessary to support the state's growing energy demands. And so this bill was not just about transmission lines across counties. Equally important, Soliday contends, is a transition from coal to more reliable and cost-effective power sources, again, cheaper than nuclear reactors, that can sustain the influx of data centers and other economic development ventures coming to Indiana. Quoting Soliday, "There's $50 billion worth of new business that wants to come to Indiana. $50 billion. They want renewable energy. Why? Not because they're woke, it's because they want to sell to a market that wants a reduced carbon footprint. That's what the market is, that's why they're asking for it." And sooner or later, he says, we've got to move past this and decide who we want to be and where the limits of local control are. If we're going to have 92 counties with 276 different county commissioners set energy policy for the state, we'd better buy some candles, because we're not going to be able to meet the demand for electricity. Also in this story, Speaker of the House Todd Houston is quoted saying, "One of the things we say to people is if you want to have the state's investment help, you have to have pro-growth policies." So with passing a fourth moratorium and continuing delay, Delaware County does not have pro-growth policies and will continue to play no role in elevating Indiana, which is already one of the overall lowest ranked states in the nation for any number of concerns and issues. So please, as you work on a next ordinance, let's keep that moving along and do something good for the county and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Cheryl Swingley.
Cheryl Swingley, Vienna Woods Drive, Muncie. Sounds like you do have a plan forward for putting together a new ordinance, but not going with our current ordinance, which was reviewed and reviewed and reviewed, is still troubling to me. Imposing another moratorium also is ironic considering the fight commissioners in Indiana have had with representatives at the State House. As Commissioner Brand said at the last meeting, we must fight HB 1628, and it is dead because we have home rule. Well, here we are, and there is irony in this situation. Commissioners don't want to be told how to run their counties, but this fourth moratorium continues to delay how landowners can use their land or not use their land. I fear a new ordinance will make it impossible to build renewables. In addition, by imposing another moratorium, you do exactly what has made county governments the targets of the state. Commissioners are making Indiana a place that is not welcoming to business. Recalling there is $50 billion of new business waiting to come to Indiana, and they want renewable energy. Next, if the new ordinance looks anything like what Commissioner Brand handed out at the first meeting of the year, we will not have renewables. There's no way. That means no money for Delaware County, no money for landowners, no economic development money for special projects that property taxes can be used for. And Delaware County needs more money. One last note, I gave all of you the names of people to contact about the benefits of renewables in Randolph County. The main person I had hoped you would contact says he's not heard from any of you. I wish you had taken the initiative to talk with this very knowledgeable person. His latest comment to me was that 11 years ago, Randolph County was on the verge of having to lay off county service employees. Now they have no worries, and their county employees' jobs are secure. Indiana and Delaware County need projects that generate money. Renewables can do this for us. Our county is in decline, our population is decreasing, our property tax base is shrinking, our poverty level keeps going up. If we had renewables, maybe we could pull ourselves out of this nosedive. So, you have a lot to think about, and I'm curious as to when I might be able to see the text of the new ordinance that will be proposed and presented to the Plan Commission on April 3rd. Because I was denied seeing the ordinance for this moratorium initially.
I assume the earliest is April 3rd.
Will that be posted before the public hearing? Yeah, so it'll be on
10 days before.
Okay, that doesn't give citizens very long
so 10
to
days
review
before
it.
the public hearing, it'll be posted to the Plan Commission's website.
Just 10 days to look at it. That's not long enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Dan Barry.
Morning, Commissioners. My name's Dan Barry. I live at 2901 East County Road 800 North in Eaton. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the property taxes that the renewables can bring in. These solar developers want to come to Delaware County, and they're not asking for anything from the county government. They're willing to pay the landowner, and they're willing to pay the higher property taxes for where they put panels. So I don't understand what the big pushback is. I know there's a lot of pushback, but it seems like to me any business that comes in and doesn't want anything from the county should look pretty good to the county. That's what I mainly wanted to talk about. And I have something here from Joe Russell that also lives in Eaton. He couldn't be here today, and I'd like to read what he has to say. Rarely is our community thrown a second life preserver to keep us afloat. The first was discovery of natural gas and oil utilized from 1886 to 1901. It turned the sleepy town of Muncie into a manufacturing powerhouse with the attractions of Ball Corporation and many other businesses. Unfortunately, most of the energy was wasted as they thought the gas would last forever. Second life preserver is building solar farms in Delaware County. Only 3,000 acres of panels are built on the 5,000 allotted acres. Enough electricity would be produced for all of our homes and businesses for 40 years. 3,000 acres of solar equals the same energy as the county's 65,000 acres of corn. Plus, it would provide $5 million annually to the children and grandchildren of the landowners to secure their future while keeping ownership of the land. Solar farms, 3,000 acres, would only be 1.2% of the county land, a small investment to reverse the 50-year downward spiraling of the county's population. Businesses and farms continually adding moratoriums and adding additional restrictive language jeopardizes our reversal of fortune. Let our land provide local energy for our people and businesses. Please don't extend the moratorium to add additional restrictive language. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tim Carter.
In reference to the taxes and payment. Those actually approved tax abatement.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hello, Mr. Krebs.
My name is Ron Crouch, 2901 West County Road 700 North in Muncie. I'm kind of right in the middle of this Rorton solar project. Just moved into my home less than a year ago, purchased it about a year ago. When I purchased my home, I knew nothing about solar coming in the area. There was no transparency. Realtors weren't telling me about it. There was no information posted. There was nothing about this coming into my home. I spent $500,000 to purchase my home, and I spent another $250,000 after I purchased it to make this my retirement. This is where I want to retire. Just turned 60 last week, planning my retirement, and this was a very big part of it. And then here comes solar. 2 months after I move in, I get a letter from National Grid saying, hey neighbor, here we come. It would have been real nice to have a choice if I wanted to live in the middle of a solar field. But this just gets snuck up on its residents and people looking to buy homes in these communities, and they have no idea that this is going on. They have no idea that you probably shouldn't consider buying that home because you're in the very near future going to be surrounded in solar. Since this has all happened, I've thought, I'll sell my home. I'll just leave it, I'll abandon it, and go somewhere else. Where do you go in Delaware County? Who's next? Where's next? Am I going to up and sell again? Do I need to move in the middle of Muncie and live in town so solar panels not coming in to the city limits? I see a lot of opposition, a lot of promotion for solar within the city limits. I don't see non-farming residents in our Rorton area here today, or actually I've been to several meetings saying I want to see solar come. I have no hard feelings to any farmer. I genuinely believe they have the right to do what they want on their land, and I respect them. The ones that have signed with the solar companies, I respect them, and I have no hard feelings. That is their land, and but my land is mine, and there are laws, and there are things in place within our county and other counties in the state that says to make it industrial, you have to follow guidelines and laws. And I need that protection. We need that protection. I don't want to take anything from a farmer. I don't want to take anything from them. I want them to,
Is that 3 or 6?
Oh, sorry, that was 3.
Yep, 3 more. Go ahead, sir.
I want them to make as much money as they can. I'm all for it. We just need protection as residents in our areas. I don't want my grandchildren playing in a solar field. The current ordinance that you have has no property value protection. And everyone says, well, there's no guarantee of that. Well, then why not put it in? Why not put it in? Why not be on the plus side for your constituents? Us people that made these investments to move to Delaware County, why can't that property value protection be on our side? Not just not have one. Let's have it just in case. As soon as we got the letter that this solar was coming to our area, we reached out to some neighbors, my wife and I did. And we've had as many as 80 to 90 people in my barn at several meetings, multiple times. And they're going to continue until the bitter end. They're going to continue until that horrific glare from solar panels is blinding me while I mow my yard. That meeting is going to occur in my barn. A letter recently came out that they want to sit and talk to us about what we could gain by signing their neighborly agreement. I wanted to do the due diligence to see what they have to say. I was a high school coach. I'd love for my opposition to show me their game plan. I called them and I welcomed them. I welcomed a single man that wanted to come to my home and talk about the benefits that I was going to gain by signing their good neighbor agreement. I set an appointment. I called him and asked him, could I bring a few of my neighbors so we can all talk and ask questions and really get good answers? And I didn't want to be the one responsible of thinking of all the good questions, so I wanted to bring some of my really smart neighbors that I have in my area that I'm blessed to have. And they showed up with 3, unannounced. Project developer, Christina Blount, kind of ran the meeting. She ran the meeting for us. We had a lot of questions for her. We had 3 National Grid employees, several of my neighbors. It's right in the middle of this area that's impacted from this solar. I ask, why here? Why right here? This is a really hot area. This is an area that is prime. This is the prime area that we really, really want. Well, it's a prime area that I really want. And this is all for money. It's all about money. And they're not going. Thank you.
I'm sorry, miss, what is your name?
Thank you, Autumn.
Good, sir.
I proceeded to let her know very respectfully. They were very well respected at my home. They were treated with kindness, and we just had some really good questions. And I wanted her to know everybody sitting here is in opposition of what you want to do. And she said, that's fine, you can be in opposition. But this is the prime area. And if we don't get it done, the next one is going to come, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. They're going to keep coming until they get it. National Grid's exact comments to us in that meeting. If we don't get it, the next one's going to come, and they're going to keep coming for us and keep coming for us. They initially was to come to let me know the benefits of their good neighbor agreement. That information was never disclosed. I never got that information. Never got any of that information whatsoever. We also talked about setbacks. You know, I would like to have a setback off the property. This is not about taking anything from a farmer. I have respect for every farmer every farmer, period, but the ones in my community, I have full respect for them, and I don't have a negative word to say about any of them that have signed with this solar. I just need the same in return. That is my property. I would like to be protected. I don't want my grandkids playing in a solar field. I asked her a question. I said, I own 12 acres of woods, and I like to deer hunt. And I like to deer hunt from a tree stand. And I like that because I like that down trajectory. I want that bullet to go into the ground. I don't want it to travel. State of Indiana has really welcomed a lot of the high-powered rifles in the area, and I'm fine with it. But I like hunting up in the air. And I said, well, you know, what happens if I shoot one of your solar panels hunting in my woods because you crammed them right up on top of me? Well, I don't know. That's a real good question. Why haven't they thought about that before they spent so much money to bring this to the community? They want to cram this on us and just cram it down our throats, not even thinking about the simple things, the little simple things that they should already have answers to. I talked about monetarily. What does it mean? What does it mean? They're not going to give that information. They're not going to give it. They never gave it. They should have gave it, and it was a total waste of my time. I asked her if I could have a current map. I said, may I have a current map of what you plan to do in our area? I'd like to see it.
That's time, sir.
Thank you.
Good, sir.
She emailed me that time, or that map, and thank you for the time. She emailed me that map. That map is right up on my property. There's no offset. There's nothing whatsoever. And I know why. They don't want it. They want to cram it on top of us and bring it in as tight as they can. They want to make it from the dwelling and not our property line. And it's just very unfortunate for us that live in the area. I would like to encourage my commissioners, that I have much respect for every one of you, to build a strong ordinance for the people that live in that area. Hear us, the ones that are affected by it, that live in it, that have to drive down the road and their kids are playing out in the yard, riding their four-wheelers, their motorcycles, right on these, right here with these solar panels right up on top of us. I didn't ask for it. This is not what I searched for when I moved to my home. I'd like you to put an ordinance in place that protects our property value. I believe if I was to put my home up for sale today with all everything going on with the solar in my area, I'm going to lose value today, because I will tell you for a matter of fact, I wouldn't have bought it had I known that it was going to happen. I'm definitely going to lose my property value. If they got to come, I'm going to support it. I mean, it is what it is. If they have to come, they have to come. I can't stop it. But I'd like to see them set back off my property to where I can at least have that piece of living in a rural area that I aspired to do my entire life, was to one day get ready to retire and buy me a piece of land in a rural area and retire and live the rest of my life there and enjoy my time with my grandchildren of hunting and fishing and all the above. I just bought an additional 4 acres because I want to build a pond. I don't want to build that pond. I don't want to put a pool in. I don't want to do anything to my home right now because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what am I going to lose when it comes in. Is anybody going to want my home? Why would I invest another nickel in my home and the people that live in my area? I wouldn't invest another nickel in your home because you're going to lose. And what that does, that affects local contractors, that affects the economy as well. Nobody wants to build. Nobody wants to add on. Nobody wants to build a garage in our area right now. We're going to lose that money. We're not going to get it back when we're surrounded in solar fields, because growing up, I never once said I want to move to the middle of a solar field. I'm glad that the bill is dead. I want to say that out loud. I'm glad it's dead, because I don't think they should be dictating what happens in Delaware County. I think the people that we elect...
That's time, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I think the people that we elect should put in place how our residents live. I think that is more important than someone that lives many, many miles away that's not in the middle of it to make a decision on what we do here in Delaware County. What's wrong with being different? What is wrong with just being different? One other thing that I want to touch on, I asked all three from National Grid, have you driven through Randolph County? Have you bothered to take a drive and see what it looks like? Just to see why we meet here in groves of 80 people a month. No, we've never been there. I was appalled that they don't even take a look at what it looks like for people like us. What does it look like? Drive to Randolph County and you'll see. I know many, many people in Randolph County that are not happy with what they have. People that are just like me. They own 20 acres and they moved there to retire and live the rest of their life, and now they have what they have and they're not happy. I pray that you all put together a strong ordinance to protect the people that it affects right there in that area. I thank every one of you for your time, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thomas Richards. Morning, Commissioners. My name is Thomas Richards. I currently live in Grant County, but I own some property in Grant County, but also grew up in Washington Township in Delaware County. I'm a retired farmer. I'm here to speak today about solar. My son has spoken several times, and I know it's not easy for him to speak, but he has a great concern about solar coming into our area. I currently have my son-in-law is involved in our operation. I have two grandsons that are coming along that wants to continue farming. That's been a many generational thing that we've been involved in. We're proud of what we do. I think we've been successful. We would like to continue down that road, but with the pressure, I guess, of solar coming to our counties is a concern of ours. My son-in-law sells seed, and they had a meeting in Tennessee, a company meeting, and there was from all over the Corn Belt area, and my son-in-law sent me a picture, and I got that picture with me today, and I have to apologize. It's not a very good picture because it's kind of distorted because we tried to blow it up. But this is a solar farm that was in southern Illinois. I think Ron kind of touched on this a little bit. If I can show this. This started out as 3,000 acres, and today it is 9,000 acres due to eminent domain. If you can see, there's some properties here, that are completely surrounded by solar panels. It's kind of interesting. When I took this picture to the print shop, had a young fellow look at it, and he says, "What is this? Is this a landing strip? Is this an airfield?" I said, "No." I said, "That's millions of solar panels." But anyway, I know the picture can't be justified if it was a lot clearer, but it shows the impact that we could have with solar in all over the Corn Belt. And as far as I'm concerned, these areas here that are completely surrounded by them is unacceptable. There's no protection that I can see from the property values that we've talked about. And anyway, Your time is
it
up,
was a
sir.
concern of mine, and I just wanted to.
What's your name?
I really don't have too much more to say, but I know that the seed companies are very concerned about these solar projects, industrialized solar projects that's coming in all over the Corn Belt. As you can see too, I mean, this is pretty much prime farmland. It's flat.
you know, we're concerned about renewable energy, and I'm all for renewable energy, but I'm not looking for energy in this type of situation here. Anyway, I thank you for your time, and it's just a concern of ours that I just don't think this is the way that we need to go as a county. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan Richards.
I'm sorry?
Okay. Next is Stephen Hargrave.
Good morning, commissioners. And I am Stephen Hargrave from RBE 2901 Wheeling. And I am here to give a report of sorts. I'll just say this for the record, I appreciate what was just said. I was just learning and enjoying myself. And I appreciate that. I am here because we're pleased to present, as an organization, RBE, we presented to this commission just basically concepts and plans last year, and I'm pleased to announce that those concepts and plans are far beyond just concepts and plans now, and they're developing into very real and meaningful improvement in the community on several fronts. We have impending investments through RBE that are actually going to be transformational to the community. I'm not talking just about bodies in factories. I'm talking about a pipeline of innovation and skill development, and also youth redeployment. And so I'm happy for that. I'm happy to announce that, happy to report that. Secondly, I'd like to mention that RBE is in schools right now, not just simply complaining, but we are interventionists in schools. We're in Southview School right now, and we're teaching reading and intervening in all the ways that we can, and it's quite effective. And because of our work in the community, I will move to my last part. Our work in the community has actually produced some notoriety nationwide that I think is beneficial for Muncie and for Delaware County and for the entire community. Not only the impending investments, but also the notoriety of the pattern of how education and intervention is supposed to work. And so we have an executive from one of the major Amazon companies, MGM Studios, Big Fish Entertainment, that is coming, and they would like to do a docuseries on our organization, specifically an aspect of the interventionists in our organization. And that will bring much notoriety to Muncie, to Delaware County. I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. On Sunday, we are having a Black History celebration, and I'd like to invite all of you here. I think it'd be important for the commissioners to come, because that'll be kind of a state of address of what we're doing. That'll be longer than just this 3 minutes. But the Big Fish executives will be there. It's on Sunday, 5 p.m., Cornerstone Center for the Arts. Everybody please come, especially after what I just heard. Just please come. You're more than invited, especially the commissioners will be there. We'll have the executive there, and look forward to doing wonderful things in the community and continue with the innovation, continue with the investment opportunities, and also continue with the docuseries and the notoriety for Delaware County and Muncie. Thank you so much.
This Sunday, 5 p.m. at Cornerstone.
This Sunday, 5 p.m. Please, please come.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good news.
Next is John Newby.
Morning, Commissioners. John Newby, 15691 West 100 North. I'm also one of the supervisors on the Delaware County Soil and Water Conservation District Board. And first of all, just wanted to say thank you for your ongoing support for our conservation efforts. It's really appreciated, and it really does make a difference in our ability to run the operation. The other thing, just real quick, is a reminder, and I think you probably received this, is that next Thursday, February 27th at 6:30 p.m. will be our annual meeting at the Knights of Columbus, Knights of Columbus Family Center. Sorry. And at the meeting, we'll go over what we've accomplished this year, what our ongoing projects are, what we hope to accomplish in the future, and also there'll be an interesting speaker. Jacob Frame will be talking about pollinators, and bees, bats, all the insects that provide this much needed service for our crops and our pollination. So it's open to everybody. It's contact our office again, and if you need, I have some paper copies that I can also give you with the information. Thank you.
Always very interesting to hear what all they're doing for us.
Thank you.
John, how many years have you been on that board?
I think 14.
14 years.
Thank you for your service.
Next is Brian Hayes.
Morning, Commissioners. Brian Hayes, 801 West State Road 28. I live just a rock's throw away from Ron, who spoke so eloquently a few minutes ago about the impact of solar on his land and his property and his livelihood. So I just wanted to kind of confirm some of the things that he said and how it's going to affect me, but also the entire community for which we live up in North Muncie. I think few in this room would refute the benefits solar energy would have on the health of our planet. Some in attendance here today likely have solar panels installed on the roofs of their homes and barns, and that's great. I welcome that. But these personal solar installations and overarching environmental beliefs regarding clean and renewable energy isn't at issue here today. What is at issue is the future of our county's farmland and the lives and livelihood of an entire community of people that choose to live in North Muncie as their home. Over the past few months, we've heard a lot regarding the rights of our farmers and property owners to do what they want with their land. In principle, I do not disagree. You should have the ability to do what you want with the things that you purchase and buy. But what about my rights? What about my rights as my property, with the property that I own and the acres that I own? We moved into our house several years ago now, kind of a dream. My girls ride horses, and we installed fencing and, converted our barn, and we've had a great time, great life. But what happens when things go awry? When installing these solar panels across all the acres of farmland? I'm going to be surrounded by acres and acres of farmland, or acres and acres of solar panels. In these situations, this is where we rely on you, our government officials, to step in and draw some of these legal lines. For example, the First Amendment of the United States guarantees your right to freedom of speech, but even with this right, there are limitations. There's laws that say it's illegal for you to slander someone, libel someone, or share misleading or false information that is offensive or objectionable to the reasonable person. What's the penalty for violating that law? Restitution or compensatory damages to the victim. I look at this situation now that we're now in with impending solar coming into our county with a similar lens. How can a company be permitted to build industrial solar farm across 2 square miles? Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Where was I? How can a company be permitted to build industrial solar farm across 2 square miles of leased farmland and not be held accountable for the potential devastating impact it can have on our community? The ordinance presented to this commission addresses these concerns and puts the proper protections and safeguards for the residents of Delaware County. It ensures property values will not be impacted, puts restrictions on the installation distance of property lines, addresses drainage and environmental concerns for our properties, ensures the proper end-of-life decommissioning of the solar project. I've been thinking about that for a long time, ever since I heard about this coming in. What happens when it's over? Does it just rot and decay and rust, and that's what I have to look at out my back window every day. There are many other great concerns that we have for us, the property owners who are going to be living within all these solar panels. And just as I stated at the beginning of my comments, you in this room would probably refute the benefits solar energy could have on the health of our planet, but I think even fewer would dispute the protections and safeguards outlined in this ordinance and what's best for our local community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Cheryl Dawson.
Is she in the hall?
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Dawson, and I live at the corner of State Road 28 and Wheeling Avenue, north of Muncie. And I want to speak about the Rorton Solar Project that will be along State Road 28, as well as solar in general for our county. And I appreciate so much the gentleman who just spoke and Mr. Crouch. And I want to address some of the constituents to the League of Women Voters and the academics who've been speaking for solar. I want to say, and I don't mean to brag at all, but I hope it doesn't come off that way. But I entered a doctoral studies program in January of 1991, and we were studying about the negative effects of carbon in our atmosphere and climate change and the need for renewable energy. And I would venture to say most of the people who have been speaking against these solar projects are not against renewable energy at all. I am certainly not. And I would like to see more community level solar and the ability to sell then to the grid or trade. I'm not an expert in how this would all work at all, but I just want to say we're not against solar. You know, there's the old adage that the ends don't always justify the means. And I'm even concerned about the new ordinance because I feel like there's a better way to do this. I feel like it should be approached for a win-win, which means it requires a lot more work on the part of everyone to get a win-win. But, and the farmers, I think if you really looked at the list of leases, and I don't want to be offensive or mean to anybody. There are a lot of farmers out north that I truly like, but I also know that a lot of them have a lot of land, and a lot of the same individuals and families have signed multiple leases. Excuse me. And it's going to be a huge windfall where that's not going to be the opportunity for all farmers in our county. If I were going to lease my tillable acreage, which is 198 acres, I would be reaping $198,000 per year for the next 30 years. That's assuming those leases continue. The gentleman who mentioned eminent domain with his photograph, I am worried about that. I truly believe that this project along State Road 28 is being built essentially for I&M. I don't know that for sure. I realize I may be wrong. It's just my gut instinct. I've watched the updating of all the transmission lines. Is that 3 minutes?
That's time. Thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Finally, it's the last person to speak is Stephen Hines.
Stephen Hines, 2706 South Tacoma Avenue, Muncie. I just want to start by saying I know you guys have dedicated a lot of time to this subject, and I just want to thank you. A couple of things, I'll be quick with my time. I never use all my 3 minutes. So just to address a couple of things, they kept bringing up that this is going to bring in tax revenues to our county. So the reality is we're at our max levy, and so the problem is they want to consider these solar panels as farm ground. And so you can't change it. They don't want to call it what it really is, which is an industrial solar plant. So you can't change the zone. You don't have to change the zone. That's the rules that they want to apply by. So it's their own fault that it's not going to bring in your tax revenues to our county, but it's our fault that we're at our max levy. So, I just want to start by just saying that and educating them. But also, one thing I will say is Ron just told me before I come up here, he wanted to invite the commissioners and the League of Women Voters and anybody else to his barn. I don't know a date or a time yet for a meeting, but we would like to have everybody out there, and it'll be a nice sit-down meeting. Everybody will be real respectful to each other. But I just want to put that out there. I assume Ron can let you know anytime, and we can contact you guys if you guys want to come to that meeting. There's one other thing. Yeah, the only other thing is looking out for the new potential ordinance is property value guarantees. I think that's a must. That was in there before. They took it out the last time, and I think it needs to be in there. And yeah, like I said, I'll just be short. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that's it on the list. Commissioner Regan, do you have anything to add?
Well, just like to invite people to the soil, their meeting. You learn so much about how we can help pollinate more things. Did John leave? It's only like, I think a $12 meal or something, $10. Very good time. You learn a lot.
Very good. Commissioner Brand?
Yeah, the Cowan Trail, there's a trail on the east side of Cowan Road, south of the Port Hoyt intersection that runs down to Houston, and there's a gap in that trail at the railroad. I wanted to let everybody know, because I've been asked a couple times, that Brooke Struble and BS Engineering and the commissioners are well aware of it, working on trying to get that project moving. BS actually came to the Delaware County Redevelopment Commission meeting last Thursday and addressed it. They introduced, one of the challenges is on that pedestrian trail, you need to notify pedestrians that there's a train coming. Just like you would on a road, you need some sort of a cross arm or some sort of a signal to let people know, and that apparently was a holdup before. So I can assure you that it won't be a holdup going forward, and we'll try to get this moving as quick as you possibly can with a railroad. But
it was a holdup by the railroad.
By the railroad.
They're
So
hard to work for.
we'll keep pushing. If the railroad will cooperate, we'll get it done as fast as we can, but nothing moves fast with the railroad. I'd like to thank the highway department and the maintenance teams. We've had some challenges here, as Tommy mentioned, with the wind, and we've had some challenges out at the Justice Center with a power outage and some issues with the sewage, the grinder pump lift station. So thanks for everybody for working on their holiday on President's Day and over the weekend for taking care of that. I would like an additional comment, and the auditor pointed it out, and a little bit to Mr. Hines' comment about tax dollars. There was an abatement granted to Invenergy for the project out by Gaston. So again, we are at our max levy. It won't necessarily bring any more revenues to the county, but it would lower the taxes for everybody in the county by some amount. I don't know the exact calculation, but we need a municipal advisor to calculate that. So he's right. It doesn't bring any more revenue to the county, but it would lower people's taxes overall, provided that there's actually net book value of those investments. So I think I said this before, the devil's in the detail. I believe when I looked at the Invenergy project, they were going to depreciate 70% of the value of the investment in the first 3 years. So in year 4, when there's a 60% abatement, it's only worth 30% of the big number that they were communicating, which was, I don't know, 155 million or something like that. So while it would bring some property tax relief, these companies have the liberty to depreciate their equipment at any level that they want to, just like any private business. You know, if you buy a new tractor, you want to write it off in the first year, you can do it. And, if they weren't depreciating in an accelerated schedule, then I would say that it would bring a big benefit. But the way they're depreciating, it's not going to be much of a benefit. I mean, pennies to, the general public. We do have new audio was approved at our last commissioner meeting for this room. The purpose of that audio is, number one, so people at home and online can listen. But number two, we're trying to implement some artificial intelligence tools to help us take more accurate and faster minutes. I believe the auditor's office maybe spends up to a week at a time, trying to put the meeting minutes together for a meeting like this that lasts 2 hours and get it accurate, you know, watching the video and listening to recordings and going over it and proofreading it. And, you know, I think that could easily be taken down to 2 or 3 hours from a week. So we're working on new audio here. And as a result of today's meeting and discussions with Endpoint Creative, they're going to provide an MP3 to the auditor's office to see if that helps, rather than watching the video that has some intermittent audio issues. Further about the number of counties that have a moratorium in place right now, I believe it's 56 out of the 92 counties have a moratorium in place right now. And that's a little bit telling. And I think that's a big reason that our state legislators are listening, is that people are not understanding, and people have great concern, which I think we've heard here from everybody that spoke today, whether you were for it or against it. And I think it's appropriate to take a pause and try to get this thing right. And I will state again, I don't believe it's necessarily holding up the progress of these projects, or they would have applied during those breaks, and they just simply didn't do it. I'd like to say to Mr. Soliday, keep your nose out of county business. I'm glad that that bill didn't make it out of committee, and I think that the elected officials, and I certainly do, we listen to the citizens of the county and all citizens, people that are in favor, people that are against, people that are going to have to live with it, which you heard about today, and the people that are going to benefit from it, which you also heard about today. And I think it's appropriate to try to take all that stuff into consideration. There's a comment about not checking with Randolph County. I was provided a name of a Randolph County person that is on their planning commission over there, and in research, that gentleman also works for the company that does the renewable developments over there. Yeah, I don't know exactly what his role is, but I chose specifically not to listen to that person because of, you know, I've heard enough pro and con. I'm trying to find neutral people. I'm trying to listen to the companies, and I'm trying to self-educate. I mean, I'm not bragging or complaining, but I've spent a lot of time being considerate and careful about the information that I'm taking in, and I hope people can recognize that. You know, there was talk about natural gas and small modular reactors. You know, that's something else we're going to have to get an ordinance in place for. I do believe that with the activity at the State House, those are real things, and we're going to have to address that. I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the ordinance that we're considering right now, but it is. And, you know, those types of energy, especially the nuclear, which is fission, not fusion, it's clean, it's safe, and it's effective, it's dependable, and it's cost effective. You know, those things are real, and it lasts a long time. I visited the Cook Nuclear Facility up in Bridgman, Michigan, a couple of months ago. They generate 2,500 megawatt. They're on their 50th year, and they're asking for additional leases to go another 20 years. You know, I haven't seen a single renewable proposed that lasts 75 years without something, and I recognize that nuclear requires some refueling and some maintenance, and I'm good for that, but I haven't seen a refueling or a maintenance plan for any renewables. In fact, we had Ravini Wind and a couple of others here in the county at one time that were going to work on rebuilding gearboxes and do some refurbishment, and they're not here anymore, and they're not anywhere anymore. So I think that's real. And in addition, these other types of energy generation, which I welcome, generate real jobs, ongoing jobs for a long time. And they generate local income tax, which I think eventually one of these days we're going to have to rely on. If the state's not done with SB 1, it's, you know, the Senate definitely gutted it, but it's over at the House side now. I think we're a long way from the goal line, and something's going to happen there. And this is just progress, right? It's not the final answer. They're going to come back again and again and again until, you know, the governor and others that want their way eliminate the property taxes, which makes it hard on county council and county commissioners and city council and the city government to provide the essential services that are necessary for the citizens of the county. So, real quick, a couple of other bills I think we should be aware of. There's a House Bill 1461 that keeps the mandatory wheel tax in order for counties to be eligible for the community crossing grant. Delaware County has a wheel tax, so we are eligible for the community crossing grant. But I did notice at the last Yorktown Town Council meeting, they adopted a first reading to implement a wheel tax there. I don't know what that means, but we already have a wheel tax in Delaware County, so I intend to reach out to the town council in Yorktown and try to help me understand what's going on.
I speak on it.
Yeah, please, thank you.
So it's my understanding that any political subdivision, whether it's town, city, or county, if they don't have that wheel tax, they cannot get community crossing grants. It's
So
not
would-
just counties.
So would it be a double tax if Yorktown implements a tax? This is the question that came to me. Will Yorktown have a wheel tax and on top of the Delaware County wheel tax? I don't know that answer.
I can assume that they would be, the revenue for that would go just strictly for the town of Yorktown, but that people that live in Yorktown would be taxed for the county tax and the local tax.
Gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, Yorktown's taking that first step, and we'll see what happens. I'm not 100% sure what that all means.
Those are the emails I got from our association.
Okay.
That was my understanding how it's gonna work.
Perfect. Senate Bill 443 was going to phase down business personal property tax. I think I spoke about that before, but the Senate significantly amended that bill. It removes some elimination of 30% floor and takes the exemption to 100,000 from 80,000. Local revenue will still be impacted, but not as great. And it's something, that definitely our revenues for next year and years after are going to increasingly be taken away by what they're doing at the State House. So I think that's it for now. Thank you, President Henry.
Very well. To speak on not contacting anyone from Randolph County, Tom Chalfin was commissioner in Randolph County when he worked on some of the solar projects, some of the wind projects. Tom actually attended some of the public hearings that Delaware County had. I'd always talked to Tom and always have, so I know how that project went, Randolph County. So I want to make that clear. Also, I think Commissioner Rand, you touched on it, but there is a change order. I think we need to have a proper vote on that.
You're talking about the change order for the delay?
Yeah, the BW construction, I have it right here. I just missed it in the packet. It's the BW construction change order number 1, the project duration extension extended, I think 63 days. Is that correct? Yes. So this extends the project 63 days at no cost to us. So I think to make this proper, I have to sign it. So I would entertain a motion to approve that change order.
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a motion to approve the change order and a second? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes, thank you. I needed to clean that up before we recess. Is
remember.
there anything else?
You want to make a motion to recess?
I have a motion to recess. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brand.
Yes.
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
For recess.
Good meeting.